In the heart of Fresno, I clock in for the night shift at a sprawling shipping warehouse, a concrete labyrinth of towering steel racks and humming conveyor belts. My hours stretch from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 grueling nights a week. It's the kind of job that doesn't crush your soul outright but chips away at it, shift by shift until you're staring at the same pallet stack you've seen for years, wondering where the time went. The warehouse is a beast of its own. Rows of shelves climb 20 feet into the dim, flickering fluorescent haze. Forklifts zip through the aisles like restless spirits, and a faint chemical tang clings to everything, seeping into your clothes, your hair, your skin. No amount of washing gets it out. The break room is no better. A sad corner of the building with a microwave that smells like burnt popcorn and a coffee pot brewing something closer to motor oil than caffeine. The vending machines are a gamble. One steals your dollar, the other spits out chips so stale they crunch like gravel. It's not a dream job, but it pays the rent, and that's enough to keep me here for now. The crew makes it bearable. There's Alex, who belts out off-key R&B through his earbuds, oblivious to the world. And Nico, who stumbles in 5 minutes late every night, looking like he's been wrestling a tornado. He's always got a Red Bull in one hand, a crumbling granola bar in the other, and a grin that says he knows he's untouchable. Management never writes him up. Nobody knows why. We're not a tight-knit group, but there's a quiet understanding among us, forged in shared complaints about overtime and the vending machine's latest betrayal. We move through our tasks, heads down, each lost in our own rhythm, until July rolled around and brought something new, someone new. He was a temp, hired through one of those agencies that plug holes in the schedule when someone calls out sick or quits without notice. He showed up on a muggy Tuesday night, sticking out like a sore thumb in his pressed khakis and spotless polo shirt. Nobody wears khakis here. They're a dead giveaway, you won't last a week. He was older than the rest of us, mid-40s maybe, with a clean-shaven face and hair clipped so neat it looked like he'd just left a barber. His name, he said, was David, though I don't recall anyone asking. He trailed the supervisor like a shadow on his first shift, nodding at every instruction, his eyes darting around the warehouse as if memorizing the layout. I didn't think much of it. Temps come and go. Most don't bother making small talk. But by his third night, things started to feel off. I was in the break room sipping coffee that tasted like regret when he walked in. He stood by the vending machine staring at it like it was a puzzle he couldn't crack. Then he turned to me, his voice low but deliberate. "You always get off at 6, or do they keep you late sometimes?" The question caught me off guard, not because it was strange, but because of how he asked it, like he was fishing for something specific. I shrugged, trying to keep it light. "Depends on the night. If we're slammed, they'll hold us an hour or two. Why do you ask?" He smiled, just a flicker, enough to seem friendly but not warm. "Just curious," he said, then turned back to the vending machine like the conversation never happened. I brushed it off, but later that night, as I restocked a shelf in aisle 17, he appeared again. I was halfway through a turkey sandwich, crumbs on my shirt, when he strolled by, hands in his pockets. "You park in the front lot?" he asked, his tone too casual, like he was trying to sound like one of us. I nodded, chewing. "Yeah, it's quicker to get out when the shift's done." He tilted his head as if filing that away. "Smart. I parked in the back. Might move it tomorrow." His eyes lingered on me a beat too long before he walked off, disappearing into the maze of crates and boxes. After that, he was everywhere. If I was scanning packages in aisle 12, he'd be there, adjusting a box on a nearby shelf. If I took my break at 2 a.m., he'd wander in a minute later, grabbing the same blue Gatorade I always drank. One night, I noticed we were eating the same meal. Microwave burrito, blue Gatorade, a pack of saltines from the vending machine. Coincidence, sure, but it felt like he was mirroring me, like he was studying my every move. I started avoiding him, taking my breaks in quieter corners of the warehouse, but he'd always find me. Once, I slipped to the far end of the building, a dead zone where the forklifts rarely go, just to steal 5 minutes of peace. I leaned against a stack of pallets, scrolling through my phone when I heard footsteps. There he was, sipping a Gatorade, standing 10 feet away, watching me with that same unreadable smile. Then my keycard went missing. I keep it clipped to my belt. Always. It's how we clock in, clock out, access restricted areas. Mid-shift, I reached for it to swipe for lunch and it was gone. Vanished. I spent an hour retracing my steps, aisles, break room, bathroom, even the dusty corner by the loading dock where I'd taken a call earlier. Nothing. I asked Alex and Nico if they'd seen it. They hadn't. I reported it to the supervisor, who sighed and handed me a temporary card, muttering about how replacements cost $20. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to know where it went. That night, around 3 a.m., I was in the break room, staring out the big window that overlooks the front parking lot. The lot was lit by harsh sodium lights casting long shadows across the asphalt. My eyes drifted unfocused until they landed on something that made my stomach lurch. My car, a beat-up Civic I've had since college, sat in its usual spot. But the driver's side door was wide open, not cracked, wide open, like someone had flung it and walked away. I spilled my coffee, the mug clattering on the table, and bolted outside, my boots pounding the pavement. The lot was empty, silent except for the hum of the lights overhead. My glove box was open, papers scattered across the passenger seat. I always keep it locked. I rifled through the mess, my heart hammering. Everything was there. Registration, insurance card, except one thing. The spare key to my apartment, tucked in a hidden fold behind the owner's manual, was gone. I marched to the security office, my pulse still racing. The guard, a guy named Mike who's more interested in his phone than his job, pulled up the camera feed. Our system is ancient, the footage grainy and jerky like something from a 90s convenience store. We watched a blurry figure lean into my car, then walk off into the dark. No clear face, no distinguishing features. Could have been anyone. Could have been David. Mike shrugged, said he'd log it and keep an eye out. Fat chance. I started parking under the brightest floodlight in the lot, the one that buzzes like it's about to explode. It didn't help. Every time I walked to my car, I felt it, a prickling on the back of my neck like someone was watching, waiting. Then there was the car outside my apartment. A white sedan, tinted windows parked across the street. I noticed it the first night after the break-in. The second night it was there again. The third, it moved closer, half a block down. The fourth, it was gone. The fifth, it was back, idling under a street lamp. I couldn't see the driver, but I knew. I felt it in my bones. That same shift, I caught David by my station. I was scanning boxes, sweat beading on my forehead from the warehouse's stifling heat. He wasn't working, just standing there, arms crossed, staring, our eyes locked. I forced myself to walk over, keeping my voice steady. "You been in the front lot lately?" His head tilted like he was sizing me up. "Why?" "Someone got into my car," I said, watching his face. He smiled, didn't blink. "That's wild. People will do anything these days." He turned and walked away before I could respond. I took my break early that night, stepping outside to clear my head. The air was thick, heavy with the promise of a storm. I lit a cigarette, leaning against the metal railing by the loading dock, trying not to stare at the parking lot. But then I saw it. Movement. Someone was crouched by my car, low to the ground like they were inspecting the tire. I dropped the cigarette, the ember hissing on the pavement, and ran. By the time I reached the car, they were gone. No sound of an engine, no footsteps, just silence. But there next to my front tire was my key card, lying in the dust like it had been placed there. I didn't go back inside. I sat in my car, doors locked, staring through the windshield as the first streaks of dawn crept over the horizon. I drove home with one eye on the rearview mirror, my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. When I got to my apartment, I locked the door, wedged a chair under the knob, and drew every curtain. Sleep didn't come. At 6:45 a.m., so right around the time I'd usually be getting home, I heard it, a soft metallic jingle. Someone was testing the doorknob. I froze, barely breathing. my heart pounding in my ears. The sound stopped after a few seconds. I counted to 60, then another 60, before creeping to the peephole. The hallway was empty, but I heard it, slow, deliberate footsteps fading down the corridor. I filed a police report the next morning, laying out everything: the temp, the key card, the car, the apartment. The officer took my statement with a bored nod, promising to look into it. That night, HR called me in. David hadn't shown up. No call, no notice. They pulled his file, no badge issued, just a handwritten time card. I called the agency myself. They had no record of anyone named David ever being sent to our site. It was like he'd never existed. I changed my locks, installed a door camera, and moved my spare key to a locked drawer in my bedroom. I don't keep anything in my glove box anymore. I avoid eye contact in the break room, and when I walk to my car at the end of a shift, my keys are already in my hand, my eyes scanning the shadows. I don't know what he wanted, or why he chose me, but I keep my keys hidden now, somewhere no one can find them. Out in Tulsa, pulling the night shift at a gas station off I-244 is about as thrilling as watching paint dry. The job's simple: keep the register running, restock the shelves, and don't lose your cool when the late-night weirdos roll in. And trust me, they do, more than you'd expect. It's a quiet gig, the kind where the hum of the fluorescent lights and the occasional chirp of a cricket outside are your only company. Some nights, the silence feels like it's swallowing you whole, like you're the last soul on the planet. I used to find it calming. Now it sets my nerves on edge. It was late July, the air outside heavy with heat that clung to the pavement long after sunset. The store's AC was fighting a losing battle, leaving the air inside sticky and thick, with a faint smell of melting candy bars and stale coffee. I was closing out the first drawer at 11:50 p.m., counting scratch-off tickets and stacking trash bags for the midnight dumpster run. The last customer, a college kid buying a vape pen, had left nearly an hour ago. That's when the glass door swung open and he walked in. He was sweaty, his polo shirt tucked into jeans, his phone clutched tightly in one hand. His eyes darted around the store, not browsing but searching, like he was mapping every corner. He moved fast, heading straight for the counter before I could even look up. "Hey man, sorry to bother you," he said, his voice rushed. "My wife's in labor and we're trying to get to Hillcrest. Can I use the employee restroom real quick?" He gestured vaguely toward the back hallway. I pointed to the public restroom sign. "It's just around the corner." He shook his head, stepping closer to the counter. "No, I mean the employee one. It's urgent. Please." He started to move like he was going to walk behind the counter. I stepped in front of him, my hand raised. "Sorry, store policy, public one's open." His smile faltered, but he tried to recover. "Come on, man. She's in the car. I've been holding it since the last station and their restroom was locked." His words were smooth, but something about the way he said, "she's in the car," stuck with me. I couldn't shake it. My eyes flicked to the security camera above the stockroom door and I noticed his gaze followed mine. That's when I knew something was wrong. I reached for my walkie, clicking the mic. "Hey, can you come up front?" I said loudly, though the walkie wasn't connected to anything. He froze, his eyes narrowing. "You working alone?" he asked. I lied without missing a beat. "Nah, second guy's in the back. He'll be out in a sec." We stood there, locked in a silent standoff. I didn't move and he didn't push past me. After a moment he backed off, his smile returning. Too wide, too forced. "All good," he said like nothing had happened. He wandered to the coolers, grabbed a bottle of water, and spent an eternity browsing the gum and chips without picking anything up. I watched him the whole time, my hand hovering near the phone. When he finally came back to the counter, he was all charm again. "Long night, huh?" he said, handing me a $5. I rang up the water. $1.89. He took his change, his eyes locked on mine, unblinking. Then he nodded and walked out. I leaned to the side window, watching as he rounded the corner of the building. No car lights, no engine. He just vanished into the dark. I told myself he must have parked around back, that his wife was waiting, that I was overthinking it. But I didn't believe it. 5 minutes later, I grabbed the trash bag and a pair of gloves, heading for the back door. The alley was a furnace, the air thick with the buzz of insects drawn to the lone street lamp. The dumpster sat in its concrete alcove, barely lit. I was halfway there when I heard it, a soft scuff to my left. I turned and there he was, standing behind the dumpster. No smile, no water bottle, just holding something dark and wrinkled in his hands. Rubber gloves, maybe. His breathing was quick, shallow, like he'd been psyching himself up. We stared at each other, neither of us moving. I turned and walked back to the door, forcing myself to stay calm. The handle stuck, as it always did, but this time it gave way easily. I slammed it shut, locked the bolt, and leaned against it, my heart pounding. I called the non-emergency line, reporting a man loitering in the alley, possibly trying to break in. The police showed up 12 minutes later, 2 officers with flashlights, who swept the alley and circled the building. He was gone. They found partial footprints in the dust behind the dumpster, pressed deep like someone had been standing there for a while. One officer used a pen to lift a black rubber glove, turned inside out from the ground. "This door might have saved you," he said, his voice flat but serious. They offered to stay while I locked up, but I had 6 hours left on my shift. I told them I'd be fine, though I wasn't sure I meant it. I didn't tell my manager. I didn't want to lose the night shift. I liked the quiet, or at least I used to. Now there's a crowbar behind the counter and another by the back door. When I take out the trash, I move fast, one hand on the bag, the other on the handle, my eyes scanning the shadows. Working the graveyard shift at a 24/7 gym in the dead of winter is quieter than you'd expect. The gym sits on the edge of town, its glass doors fogging up every time someone walks in from the January cold. Between midnight and 3 a.m., it's just the regulars, a couple of casino workers unwinding after their shifts, 2 college kids lifting in silence, and Jules, a woman who runs on the treadmill like she's outrunning her past. My job is simple. Clean the locker rooms, restock the fridge, wipe down equipment that hasn't been touched in hours. Some nights I read, others I scroll through my phone, the glow cutting through the dimness of the front desk. It's predictable, routine, until one Tuesday night in January when everything felt wrong. It was 2 a.m., and I'd just finished organizing the desk drawer when the glass doors slid open. He walked in, no gym bag, no water bottle, just jeans and a dark puffer jacket. His face was tense, like he was trying too hard to look relaxed. He didn't scan a key card, didn't even glance at the scanner. I stepped out from behind the desk. "Hey, can I help you?" He flashed a smile, quick and practiced. "Just waiting for my cousin. Said he'd meet me here." I nodded, keeping my voice neutral. "All right, visitors can hang out, but stay out of the workout areas." He thanked me and wandered to the windows by the treadmills, hands in his pockets, his eyes sweeping the gym like he was taking inventory of every soul inside. At first, I wanted to believe him. Maybe his cousin was late. Maybe he was just bored. But 15 minutes passed, then 20. He didn't check his phone, didn't text, just paced the perimeter of the gym, slow and deliberate, his gaze lingering on the regulars. Jules caught my eye as he passed her treadmill for the second time, her eyebrows raised in a silent question. I shrugged, but my gut was twisting. He drifted back to the desk. "You always work this shift?" he asked, his tone too casual. I forced a laugh. "Nah, usually mornings." A lie. "What time you get off?" 9, I said, lying again. "Long night tonight." He nodded, his eyes lingering, then walked away, his steps slower, more deliberate. By 2:45, 2 regulars, Marcus and Devon, powerlifters who could bench a small car, walked in. They nodded at me, heading for the free weights. The man noticed them immediately, his posture stiffening. He didn't stick around long after that. "Guess my cousin bailed," he said with that same forced smile, then walked out. I moved to the window, pretending to check the weather display, but really watching him. He didn't get into a car. He drifted to the far corner of the lot, disappearing into the shadows where the lights didn't reach. I finished my shift on edge, keeping busy to drown out the unease. By 6:45 a.m., the gym was empty. Jules left first, then Marcus and Devin. I clocked out, grabbed my bag, and stepped into the biting cold, my keys already in hand. That's when I saw it. A car idling in the far corner of the lot, no headlights, just exhaust curling in the frigid air. It was too dark to see the driver, but it was there, parked away from the entrance, away from the other cars. My skin prickled. I hit the unlock button on my key fob, my headlights flashing in the dark. I got in, locked the doors, and started the engine. The car in the corner flicked its headlights on, just once, like a signal. I didn't wait. I peeled out of the lot, my tires squealing, and didn't look back. I called my best friend Lily, from the first red light, my voice shaky. I told her something weird had happened, that I needed to crash at her place. I drove in circles through unfamiliar neighborhoods, checking my mirrors, convinced the car was still behind me. Eventually, I pulled into a 7-Eleven lot, parking under the brightest lights I could find. I sat there, engine running, until my breathing steadied. When I got to Lily's, she handed me a blanket and let me take the couch, no questions asked. The next night, I told my manager. He didn't brush it off. We pulled up the security footage together. There he was, pacing the gym. Then the next night, standing outside, hands in his pockets, watching from the shadows. We called the police. They took my statement, promised extra patrols, but said there wasn't much they could do unless he acted. As they were leaving, one officer noticed a note tucked into the door handle, folded tight. It read, "You looked cold. I could have kept you warm." I switched to day shifts after that. Now I always check the corners of the lot before I walk to my car. I haven't seen him again, but I know he wasn't waiting for his cousin. On the outskirts of Tucson, I work the night shift at a business hotel, one of those beige cookie-cutter buildings off the interstate. It's 3 stories of stucco and predictability, with a free continental breakfast and coffee that's barely drinkable. My job as the overnight receptionist is straightforward. Check in guests, hand out room keys, point them to the vending machines, and try not to nod off at the desk. Most guests are sales reps or families passing through, gone before sunrise. It's quiet, uneventful, the kind of place where nothing happens until it does. Security is more of an idea than a reality. We have cameras, but they're only checked when something goes wrong. After midnight, it's just me and the occasional janitor. I buzz people in, keep an eye on the lobby, and that's about it. So when a DoorDash driver knocked on the glass door at 1 a.m., I didn't think twice. Deliveries are common. Guests order late-night snacks or just want someone to talk to. He was middle-aged, wearing a polo shirt and a baseball cap pulled low, holding a red thermal bag. "Delivery for room 214, he said when I buzzed him in. Guests said they'd meet me by the elevator. I pointed down the hall. Second floor, left out of the elevator. He nodded and headed off, his steps calm and measured. I went. Back to my spreadsheets, barely registering him. 10 minutes later, he was back. No bag, his shirt damp with sweat despite the cool lobby. He gave a nervous laugh. Forgot to ask about the tip. Thought maybe the guest left cash. I raised an eyebrow. Tips are usually handled through the app. No worries, he said quickly, his smile strained. He lingered, like he wanted to say more, then turned to leave, his walk slow, almost theatrical. I watched him go, unease creeping in. I pulled up, the camera feed rewinding to his arrival. He took the elevator to the second floor but didn't stop at room 214. Instead, he turned into the staff-only hallway, a narrow corridor leading to maintenance storage and the employee restroom. No one but staff should be there. I fast-forwarded. 10 minutes later, he walked back through the lobby, no bag, and left. I grabbed my flashlight and checked the hallway. The storage closet was locked, the restroom empty, but the window above, the toilet was cracked open, just enough for someone to squeeze through. The sink was damp, like someone had stepped on it. My stomach dropped. I pulled up the exterior camera. There he was, crouched by a guest's white SUV, working a wire into the door lock. I called room 214. A woman answered, groggy. "Did your food arrive?" I asked. "What food?" "I didn't order anything." I told her to lock her door, then called the police. They arrived in 7 minutes, checked the footage, and searched the lot. He was gone, no trace except tire tracks. In the brush and a DoorDash bag behind the vending machines containing a half-eaten burger and warm fries. No receipt, no name. The license plate on his car was fake. DoorDash confirmed no orders for our hotel that night. He wasn't a delivery driver. He was looking for a way in and he almost found it. Night shifts aren't just about bad coffee and long hours. They're about the shadows, the quiet, and the people who slip through the cracks. If you've got a creepy night shift story, drop it in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and check out our next video, 4 chilling road trip horror stories that'll make you think twice about driving after dark. Stay sharp, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.